All right, hello everybody. This is Clayton Olive. My presentation today will be over juvenile hormones and brood pheromones. All right, so this is just a background of our studies. The honeybee, Apis mellifera, plays a large role in our environment. Their work helps plants grow, supports biodiversity, and keeps our agricultural systems running by helping crops reproduce through pollination. But beyond their impact on the outside world, honeybees have an entire system of their own inside of the hive. Their internal society runs on the division of labor that is influenced by hormones, and these hormones guide the roles between tasks as they develop. So today we'll be looking at a few studies that show how the hives work internally, so we can better understand how to help the colonies flourish despite the increasing environmental and human-related threats. So our research question is, what is the role of hormones in regulating honeybee development? Just a quick introduction. We'll kind of cover polyetheism. So what is polyetheism? This will be like the push and pull. This is what makes the bees leave the hive or what makes them stay back, right? If they leave, they're going to go forage. If they stay back, they'll be helping take care of the young or the brood. We'll kind of run through juvenile hormone. So the juvenile hormone is the basic hormone that the nurse bees have, right? So you wouldn't think this is not a brood hormone. This is going to be something that an actual fully developed bee has, right? And this is what this one will release based off of need, right? If they need more bees, they're going to increase that. If they need less, then they'll decrease it, right? And this also kind of plays into brood pheromones, right? For the next point is whenever there is a lot of brood, this brood pheromone is going to increase, which is going to then decrease the juvenile hormone. Right, so we're going to talk a little bit on their studies is how these factors relate to each other and the significance and long-term impact. All right, so we'll start off with the juvenile hormones. So what do juvenile hormones do in adult worker bees? So the studies that I looked at by Sullivan, Jessam, Barnbach, Robinson, done in 2000 showed that the juvenile hormone plays a major role in how worker bees change their behavior as they age. When the juvenile hormone is low, the bees tend to focus on nursing tasks inside the hives. As they get older and these hormone levels start to rise, they'll shift to foraging roles outside of the hive. Right? They showed how important this is in the study. They removed the glands that produce it. When they did, the bees took longer to start foraging, right? So that kind of confirmed what they were thinking. We proved that in figure 7, is that as the bees get older, the JH hormone rises, while vitellogenin and total protein levels go up early, but then they drop over time. So that was kind of the other factors. Is that what's doing it? But no, it was this JH hormone. You can see on the graph here, the JH hormone is this more linear one that's going up over time, and that's what's causing the bees to go out and start foraging, is if when that increases, right? And the main thing that would regulate that is going to be brood pheromones. All right, so here's some brood pheromones. So the studies kind of showed what are brood pheromones and how are they produced by larvae. So brood pheromones are a chemical signal that is released by larvae that can impact the behavior of the adult worker bees. The signals are secreted through the larval cuticle, and they serve as signals for the nurses to stay and take care of the larva, much like a baby crying is kind of how I would put it. Brood pheromones delay the shift to foraging, making sure the colony's young get the care that they need before the workers move on to their roles. All right, so what is the impact of brood pheromones on the behavior of adult workers? So brood pheromones delay the onset of foraging, right? The studies kind of showed this extensively, is that when there was high brood pheromones, that foraging decreased, right? The nurses and all of the workers would stay back to take care of the young. Um, Kind of going back to that, the baby's crying, right? You got to go take care of it. How do brood pheromones in colony regulation in worker specialization, right? So the brood pheromones signal how many larvae there are and what stage they're in, right? So we can assume higher levels of brood pheromones is going to create more of that brood pheromone, and then they're going to have to stay back more, right? Some of the worker bees, right? All right, so the relationship between the brood pheromone and the juvenile hormone. All right, so in the study done by LeConte in 2001, the brood pheromone lowers the juvenile hormone adult and levels in adult worker bees, and that delays the shift to foraging and keeps them focused on nursing tasks. The system helps the colony stay adjustable by adjusting worker behavior based on how much brood is present, right? Making sure that the right jobs are getting done at the right time. So do brood pheromones suppress juvenile hormones? Yes, it does. So Figure 2 shows that brood pheromones significantly suppressed the JH levels in adult workers, particularly queen right colonies is what the study focused in on the most, right? We can see this on the chart here. The suppression is most evident on days 3, 5, and 7, right? We can see the spikes here. It was going down significantly, then back up, right? Indicating that it had sustained impact during early development, right? The researchers, they tested this by setting up experimental colonies, some that had exposure to synthetic brood pheromone hormone and some that didn't, right? And they kind of noticed the changes, right? Same kind of on that same exact study is the inhibitory effects of a high dose of the brood pheromone rate of behavioral development was confirmed. So they knew that if they gave them too high of a dose, that would decrease the rate of behavioral development, right? And then the same thing is whenever they gave them that it actually varied in dose, right? That this is the main underlying cause, then obviously there's going to be a change. So the effects of the brood pheromone varied with dose. The low dose caused weaker and less consistent effects that sometimes appear to involve a slightly earlier age at onset of foraging. The effects of a high dose were stronger and more consistent, right? So, and then they kind of just proved themselves right. They knew this would have an effect, and then that's what it did, right? All right, so the summary. So, brood pheromones suppress the juvenile hormones in adult worker bees. It delays the transition from nursing to foraging. JH levels normally rise with age, so when the demand is there, say large amounts of larvae, the suppression keeps the younger bees focused on brood care. Chemical cues influence the hormone levels inside the colony so that it controls the timing of behavioral changes. This process is vital to the function of the hive and the role of polyethysm to create a strong workforce with balanced job spreads. Remember that push and pull from the polyethysm model. All right, so some of the final thoughts. Social and chemical signals like brood pheromones, it plays a central role in organizing the honeybee colonies, working through the hormones, especially like the juvenile hormone. It's important for beekeepers to understand these dynamics since they can improve the colony health by managing these brood levels to guide worker behavior, right? If they want more bees to go out and forage, well, they can do that. They can just decrease those brood pheromone hormones, right? And so that, I mean, that would be something how they can make extra profit and stuff like that. Potential applications in ecology management. Tools like these synthetic hormones could improve resilience during disease, queen loss, or environmental stress, especially with stuff coming through like climate change. A lot of beekeepers are having issues with the lands around them, maybe pollution, stuff like that, that's causing the bees to run away. So hopefully these synthetic hormones can help them combat that. All right, see, there's some of my references. Thank you all for listening.